Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a long game for you guys today, a knockdown drag-out fight, 4v4 on 38th parallel between my team, which is myself, South Africa Enjoyer, Blind Bandit, and Hondahan, against the Major of Viet Cong, the Brigadier General Gatsu, along with Infinite and Johnny Anxiety. Now, everyone but Johnny, I believe, was on Discord on the voice chat, and if you want to be a part of games like this, just check out the Discord, links usually in the description. And if you don't mind, do the whole like, share, subscribe, and all that YouTuber nonsense. That's, well, I just kind of have to ask for, so that's how it is. But we're getting on the way, and I believe I'm taking Landjet and Mechanized, so you can see things like the Automatic, then the Leopard 2A1 is going to be my heaviest tank, which is a bit of a problem, and I'm going to be fighting on the same side as Hondahan, while as over here we had Blind Bandit, and then we also had South Africa Enjoyer fighting over in Delta and India. Now, this is something that's kind of interesting. So you can see Infinite and Gatsu both driving right down the highway, right down the central part, and we were kind of expecting that and set a bit of well, I guess softer holding force, right? So it's a difficult thing to fight against two super heavies like this, and particularly when I'm playing a mechanized deck, I'm not able to support Han with super heavies of my own, so I have to provide what I can. In this case, that's going to be a couple of Milan 2s. They're not as effective as his own Milan F3s, but I was hoping to get them into decent positions in the town and then in the woods on the left, and just sort of make this an unfriendly place to get into. The other half of what I'm doing is going to be going up into the woods near golf, just with a lot of cheap stuff, and then trying to secure the town over on the left-hand side. And then in response to all this aggression from Gatsu, because remember, these BTR-50s, they're brand new, they're probably carrying cheap infantry. It's what he wants to have up forward and screening for his more expensive tanks, like the T-72-1 mods, and then Infinite's T-72B OBR in 1989. So, 140 points worth of tank there, and of course 165 points worth of tank on the other side. And my 2A1s get a pretty nice engagement here. Now, they're not quite shooting at the T-72s, I wasn't quite within range for that, but we do manage to take most of those boxes on the side and stop Gatsu and Infinite from getting up and into the town in Foxtrot, which is definitely where they want to be fighting. That's sort of, if you can get the push into this, that makes holding Foxtrot basically untenable, and that's going to be a very, very challenging thing. So let's take a quick, brief look over here to the right-hand side as South Africa Enjoyer is getting into the town. A lot of Buffaloes, a lot of Caspiers, a lot of Parabat, and I must say, I recently got completely stuffed fighting in this town, and I don't know, I think I had the wrong infantry for it. That's sort of the feedback that I got after the game, which was very much welcome, but I think on this side, it's almost like, yeah, I mean, the rule cuts are very fast, but you're gonna run into things like from Johnny Anxiety, the T-72s, and just completely pushed out. There's a lot of saying just, I should probably avoid that, but it's kind of difficult too, because you figure out when you do these sorts of recordings that you have certain verbal crutches that just help you manage that space, right? It's like back in elementary school when everyone says, oh, don't say right? Well, okay, well, I've replaced Good job for me. Fennec Totu actually got a pretty decent kill there. I think we got a T-80, then we're going to be cycling back, but my ally's Hot-2 is going to be unfortunately receiving the anti-air that was meant for mine. So Gatsu, in response to my Fennec, does bring up an Ito. First shot goes after mine and is a miss. Second shot takes out my ally's Hot-2, which is a little bit unfortunate. And you can see, even with all of that firepower going down the field, we haven't completely repelled this attack. So there's still the two T-72s. We also still have Motostrelki getting up in here, but they are very, very damaged, and this is a relatively short reinforcement zone, so there might be something we can do about it. Meanwhile, on this side, I lost a Martyr 2 to Razvedka, which always feels kind of bad, but I figured, I have such a huge investment on that side, let's just keep going. Let's get Panzergren into the town here, let's get the Martyr moving forward and into the woods on the left, force them to bring points this way instead of reinforcing their front line, and also just maybe make them feel a little nervous, because we also did get some nice kills from the Leopard 1A4, I believe taking out a T-80 by the look of it right there, and then retreating back in. So, I've told our opponents at this point, hey, I have this section, hey, I have stuff over here. You can't just go right down the highway and expect this to work out for you, because we need to spread that engagement, and now they have to as well. So this will hopefully give us the time to sort of push out the elements from Infinite and Gatsu that got pretty far forward into Echo, and honestly are going to be a bit of a problem. So on this side, you can see most of South Africa Enjoyer's stuff is gone. He has Commandant sitting back here in Delta, not much besides, and the answering Ruhrkat 76 Mark 1Cs. Now, I know some people like these, I tend to not really, because they're effectively the same thing as the Recon Ruhrkat for 10 points less in terms of the gun, and they don't get the optics. So, I mean, medium optics aren't terrible, but it just seems like a why would you buy kind of unit, and then for 10 points more, you can add 5 AP power to the gun, which that's really significant, right? That's a couple hundred meters, well, it's about, what, 900, 1,000 meters closer in that you have to be in order to pen with 12 AP against 17 AP. Well, compared to 17 AP, I mean, they will kill things like BRDM3s if they can get the shot off, although still paper-thin armor, so watch out for that autocannon. Yeah, one good kill there, and I guess that does nearly pay for the Rulekat as well, so it is a bit cheaper of an option. You can see he's pinging for help on that side, and I mean, just Spetsnaz, Motostrelki, Sapri, this is a really, really tough fight to take. So, we are going to be hopping back and forth again. Now, I've pinged this section of woods for my ally, and we're just going to try to get as much as we can to retake that section of forest, in part because, I mean, we have Milan teams over here. My 2A1s are a little bit too damaged to take on a T-72, but if we can get up into this section of forest, they have to pull back. They won't be able to push through this side as confidently. 2A5, by the way, from Hun to Hun did excellent work. You can see down to 7 shots remaining, and that is the telltale sign of a tank that's been allowed to shoot without too much trouble, without too much response. Unfortunately, my Martyr 2 flank did get kind of wrapped up, but I still have Panzergren back there, just it's a bit of a surprise and a bit of a, hey, you're going to have to deal with this sooner rather than later. So I ping my ally, gathering an infantry push here. You can see Martyr 1's coming out. It's also going to be some Heimat shoots, and he's going to bring some of the punch. I'm going to bring some of the bodies, and I guess that was the intention there. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. 2A5, by the way, up here as well, and I kind of wish that we had more recon. This is probably something I could have been doing a little bit better to help my ally, because right now we're relying on 2 M41A1s in the woods, and the only reason they're seeing all this stuff is because they're so much farther up than the rest of our front, and that's just because they're able to hide as well, but this is not a guarantee. You can see the 2 T-72 mods moving over to their right, my left, taking out that Milan 2 because it's just not enough firepower to take these guys out at range. I was hoping it would dissuade. It did not. And this is something that's been a hard lesson to learn, right? Because when you're first learning the game, and when you're getting into the game, and you have your first couple hundred games even, ATGMs are the answers to tanks, right? Well, proper smoke micro and getting into range and having good recon makes it no longer always the answer. I think I was actually told one time, ATGMs in the current meta are kind of useless, and I was wondering, wait, are you kidding me? I've lost so many tanks to ATGMs, and that is the key word there is, well, the key phrase is the proper in the current meta, right? With good smoke micro and able to block line of sight quickly and well on different tanks. And you can see right now, I mean, this 2A5 is not spottable by the Syria, so he's just sitting in the smoke waiting for this to go away. It makes planes a little worse, it makes all of that a little worse. Now, my own smoke micro, of course, not really on point. I do lose a 2A1 there, but my allies' Tornado F3s from Blind Bandit were able to get a good kill, and I think get out. So, yeah, it looks like, yeah, both of them got out. So at least it was a bit of a trade, though not really because I had much to do with it. So, I have spotted the ITO 90. We are going to be firing in, and what that is double siege guns. So these guys are the 10 HE slow reload kind of guns, and they're relatively cheap. I got 2 of them for 140 points, and I brought them only because Landjut Mech I don't think has the best options for that, so you sort of have to make do with what you have, and having at least some long-range fire is pretty good. And, we do kill the ITO right there. That's 90 points. It pays for one of them off the bat. So if I can get even maybe 50 points worth of kills on infantry, on vehicles, on any sort of supporting forces like the Teleker that was sitting right there for a while, then that should be worth it. Now, this was pretty upsetting. Ranoko Yekiri will just mulch Martyr 2s, and we didn't know they had Ranoko up in there, so I'm moving the Heimat Schützen forward, and then I was trying to move the boxes as well a little bit after, but either Miss Micro or Gatsu's Ranoko have their Epilosses on, their Belmets off, which will, of course, allow him to engage those boxes a lot more efficiently. Now, we do get some support right away, and that's the AS-90 from Blind Bandit. So he was over here on the right, but really his support was instrumental in us taking on the left side of the board, particularly on those fights where, I mean, Ranoko Yekiri could probably have killed all of the cat in the background. Oh my goodness. She is fine. She's just being a little ornery because I'm not paying her enough attention. But, yeah, so it would have been a hard fight, and it became an easy fight because of proper long-range support. So 2A5 sparring with the T-80U, and I think having gotten the first shot there, the first hit anyway, that should be something the Leopard could win if he was still shooting at him. But he was engaging the CC, and a little bit lucky there that we were able to dodge that reflex. And then my Fennec Toe 2, believe it or not, gets a 150 point kill right there just before that T-80U could get back into his smoke. So unhappy tank on that side, happy tank on our side, and that's how you want the game to go. So Edoko's Yekiri pulling back, you can see exactly like I said earlier, we get into this forest, they have to sort of, if not respect that, at least manage it a little bit differently than they otherwise would have. You can see BTRTs from Infinite coming back up to clear this, and the Sapri and BTRTs will be very, very deadly against Dragoner and Heimat Schützen, but the Martyr 1 support with RH202s is just brutal. Look at that. One group of Sapri already dead. The BTRTs, of course, are fine for right now, but the second this becomes unstunned, I mean, the frag rounds will stun martyrs, unfortunately, but the second it becomes unstunned, we should be able to get most of that online again. And the Deccan's group, unfortunately getting hit by sort of splash damage from the frags, we're not able to really reach their full potential, so yeah, a bit unfortunate. But we do sort of disarm some of this. It's just going to be maybe not as much of a decisive take back in that forest as we had wanted. So meanwhile, on this side, South Africa and Joy still fighting a fight here against Johnny Anxiety and Viet Cong, and I have to say, having recently failed to hold this is a hard hold, and I'm kind of impressed at how long it held after that first engagement, just because it's so hard to recover from that. I mean, the tanks getting just dumpstered, the infantry getting dumpstered, trust me, I've been there, I understand, it's very, very stressful. And now we're actually trying to use our opponent's smoke here on this side, so you can see my 2A1's moving forward, the 2A5 moving forward, the 10RC is spotting for us, if he can. I mean, actually might be taking a severe ATGM pretty soon, let's see. Yeah, one shot, and unfortunately for us, one kill. Yeah, they do have utility. Maybe not in super heavy slugfest, but certainly in other times. And my 2A1s are trying to get rid of these BTRTs, but it's going to take a couple of shots. I mean, these guys have incredibly heavy frontal armor. I think it's either 13 or 15. Yeah, so we get a couple shots there, T-72 moving up, but I have two Leopard 2A1s here, and still just using that smoke in the center, we're going to try and get a close-range engagement, where the ability to shoot twice might be able to make the difference. Unfortunately, I didn't realize there was CC right here, but they did miss with the Reika, so, I mean, it's 18 AP power, yeah, it's got 3 damage apiece, and they landed one, but not the other. But now, with the 2A5 backing as well, this should be a brutal fight. So you can see, yeah, down to 1 strength, but we get 2 shots in, down to 3 on the T-72, and I'll trade this one for 1. It's 40 points in favor of me, and actually the Hot 2 does get the kill there. So a little bit sad that I couldn't get that, but I mean, in the right place at the right time, and we were able to have some pretty nice teamwork, then a help ping from Han to Hun, trying to get me to save my tank. Goodness gracious, okay, so the cat was just having a fun time. Anyway, Syria 38 coming in from Gatsu, and the 2A5s unfortunately not quite as well smoked this time around, so I think one of them should be fine, but the other one does get taken out by that Syria. 27M behind it, by the way, I think looking for the same target, because he did sort of detrack after that, and a nice response here from Blind and Han to Hun, getting one and maybe... oh, I thought we were going to be able to get both, but no such luck there. Now, on the left-hand side, I wasn't really sure how to push this. I had the vague feeling that I should be, but, I mean, the T-72s rotated over pretty soon. I'm just trying to see, you know, where they are. Some cheap high-mat shoots and going forward, getting shots, hopefully screening things out for the 2A5 that was... yeah, I mean, the corner here is a little bit risky, but look at that. That's 1 shot downfield and 2 back at him. I think the T-72s should do, let's see, 23 AP, 22 frontal armor. Yeah, I mean, that's minimal damage, and the mods themselves are 21, and that's against the 23, so shot per shot, the 2A5 rather, I think does 1 point more damage, but not when you have twice as much rate of fire. I mean, that's twice as many chances to crit as well, don't forget that. So you can definitely lose tanks that you wouldn't otherwise think that you should. So we have the Fennec Totu going back up. I'm trying to be a little bit careful with him, but I just sort of wanted to show he was there to dissuade those 2 big heavy tanks. And the Panzer Grenadier 90 on this side, just dealing with the last of those Razvedka. Probably should have done it a lot earlier. I kind of wanted him to forget about the Panzergren, so I wasn't too sad that they weren't fighting in that section. So we do also have a VBL Mistral. Keelers moving forward, 1390 on this side, and we were able to handle their pushback well enough, but we do need more stuff up here if we're going to keep it that way, especially with the constant stream of BTRTs from Infinite. And then over on this side, I was really hoping that this LLR-KT would do well, and the Stinger missiles, I mean, 70% accuracy is pretty great. It's just only 1, so I don't know. It should be alright. I think there's Stinger C's in the US deck. And we'll have to check back in on how he's doing later, because I think that unit got a couple of funny kills. Meanwhile, Book M1 spotted, stationary, but no ping, and I don't think these guys get punished. Ooh, that's a beautiful unit. You know, honestly, just watching that thing rotate, 4 missiles on its back, yeah. Very pretty. Anyway, now you can see Viet Cong is helping out Johnny Anxiety on that side, and they are getting pretty far forward into Delta. If we don't hurry on the left-hand side, we are going to lose our own right, and that is one way to definitely lose this game. Despite the 243-point advantage we have at the moment, you can lose that over the span of 25 minutes, of course. And we got 1 kill off the LLR-KT. Let's see if we can get a second one. Actually, the Panzergren might get it, because that's down to 1 strength, and let's see. They still have the Electa. No, okay, so that is going to be off the Manpads team. A little bit of a risky placement, but I don't know, I was hoping it would do pretty well. And we are starting to get artillery here, but fortunately not a lot. I mean, this was sort of my intention with this force composition, was have a lot of cheap stuff that can be seen as a lot of units popping up in here. But I don't really care if they get mortared so much. They're just 5-point boxes, they're 5-point infantry, and they have a couple of high-value pieces spread amongst them that will be impactful, but not a ton. So that was the hope. And then looking back over the whole entire battlefield, Echo was sort of in nobody's hands, which is sort of as you expect. And then over on the right-hand side, Bravo is sort of in nobody's hands, which is as you expect. Most of the action is going on the extreme ends of this match. So you have 2 players on each team really playing over the right-hand side, and then 2 players on each team playing over on the left-hand side. And this is just me being over-aggressive. So I was pinging this section of town because, from what I've seen, usually the red force spawn here will go for having a command infantry in this town or somewhere in these woods. Sometimes the town I think people think is too predictable, but then they'll place it somewhere over here just with the idea that, with a strong presence up through Gulf and attacking into this town, it should be decently well protected, plus people aren't usually going to be able to cross the bridge in the river without getting spotted. So my 2A1 does take 2 shots there down to 2 strength, and I was sitting there going, okay, this is what I get for going in blind, but we are able to retreat, I think. Let's see, 1-2 shots. Yeah, just in the nick of time. That last one had that tank's number on it. But fortunately for me, we were able to get out. And meanwhile, I did also see Gatsu's units here, so I should have some mortars going in, and the siege guns were the ones that were actually able to decap that zone in Gulf. So they've now killed an Ito 90 and a command infantry, I believe, so very much paying for themselves in the open field. Let's see how that continues on. And then this is in response to Han, it's in response to Han in response to my ping saying let's attack here, right? So I build a smoke wall, splitting these into 4, and then just going right around, and I know you never want to give your opponent smoke, but I did also want to block his line of sight. In hindsight, if I could do this again, I'd probably drop it along this side, and then unfortunately we had a disconnect, so Viet Cong left the game, and that's going to mean that Gatsu, previously fighting only over on the left-hand side, is now also going to be responsible for units on the right-hand side. So it does give their team a bit of a disadvantage. Plus, I mean, it's a micro-split as well. So Gatsu, of course, is the Brigadier General. He's a very, very, very good player. But playing 2 sides that far apart is always challenging pretty much no matter who you are, especially because we did also just launch an offensive here, and yeah, I mean, I lose the automatic to a 27M, which meant that he was spotted, but we are getting some units up and in. M41A1's taking out CC. We do also have Martyr 1 shooting in, getting some Razvedka, and they will struggle. I mean, it's an OBR 1989, but let's watch this engagement here for a second, because it turns out different than you might think, right? So the Martyr 1 shooting in against Safety, the T-72 reloading, trying to get that, and then he's going to be backing out, and the Martyr 2 gets some side armor shots, down to 5 strength, and still safe. So that T-72 really anchoring that side, and my M41A1s have just sort of stalled, looking for him to go back, to keep retreating, and to let me have another opportunity. I kind of wish I'd had some of the 2A1s around here, but unfortunately no dice there. And then the M41A1s moving up are going to be able to get a couple of shots in. That might surprise you, but remember, the M41A1s have a kinetic gun with 8 AP, which means that at very close ranges, that does scale, and the OBR 1989's 20 frontal armor is still ever so slightly vulnerable. Now we are taking some return fire, the M41A1 trying to close, as I think their first shots were on side armor, not front armor, and when it's on front armor it's going to be a very different story, but the others are able to get around, so that's kills on some Nevas. I think that's an Ito 90 there as well, and we have enough line of sight to direct fire in, so that's another Ito 90 gone. If the Nevas stay there for just another second more, we should be able to get a kill here as well. Let's see, and no. 2 shots, 2 misses. Very unfortunate there for us, and the Red 4 Air Force is coming out. Definitely not something I was prepared to deal with, but yeah, there's one of the Nevas down to an M41A1. Probably the most return on value M41A1 I think I've ever had in my life. I don't know, I mean, it's a really good unit, and it's one that I am trying to use everything of what I have for it, because it's 10 points, it's recon, and it has a gun. What more could you want? So, meanwhile, on this side of Gulf, we are getting some decent progress in, but I don't know, I kind of lack some elements here to really make it stick. So my Fennecs are too far back to support my 1A5 train here, just, 4 of them for the mid-range guns. I was hoping to have these guys in the woods here, taking close-range fights. So the idea is to ambush and out DPS other tanks at relatively short ranges, and it really just, it was a bit too delayed, so I think some of that I overinvested into some units on this side, but the automatic shooting in does get a plane down, so that's a nice kill. I think that was one of the 200-pointer Soviet planes, which is always very nice, and we do get enough forces up to have reservists for just a minute in that town. You can see Hun to Hun still pushing. My stuff, as soon as the Leopard 2A1 is back and healed, is going to be going forward as well, just trying to make sure that they can't send well, effectively 2 and a little bit more people's worth of units over to this side. So the T-80 does get smacked by the M41A1, but we'll see if he can reload first. He does, but the Fallschirmjäger 90 gets some revenge. So that, I mean, I lose 2 10-point tanks, they lose a T-80, I'm okay with that. It's just, as cost-effective as that was, I just don't have the reinforcements there yet to deal with it. So, now we have some attack markers on this side, the 2 OBR 1987s. These are, of course, the cheaper ones from the Soviet side, but it looks like a Buccaneer went for that, swing and a miss, and then South Africa Enjoyer's Buccaneer is going to have to circle all the way back around to get that second shot, which is probably the worst-case scenario. I'm not really sure. Usually, the Buccaneers fired twice on their incoming, so I don't really know what happened there, but that is the second shot, and that's a 110-point kill, which justifies the Buccaneer, by the way. I think South Africa Enjoyer said he carries 4 of them down-vetted. I also do the same thing, by the way. And we have also a command vehicle from Han to Hun going up, dropping off infantry kind of really far forward. It freaked me out at the moment. I was just like, okay, I mean, you see the defense ping there. I was sitting there going, oh man, I'm not sure I can hold this. I don't want to get my allies' command infantry killed. We'll see, you know, how that goes. But it does give us golf for just a second. At least countercap when that guy's sitting there, which it will put us back into a +1. 276 points to 14, but 18 minutes left. If they got a +2, that would still be a really difficult thing to deal with. So the mortar's moving up, and I think eventually I use all the ammunition on them, but for right now they're sort of just sitting there doing nothing, which is not really what you want to have happen. And then my 2A1 sitting back as well, with the automatic taken out by Seed when I wasn't looking. So this was really... I mean, I was really saddened by this. I said before, you know, I wanted the 1A5s up here for that close range, relatively high DPS, but a Rock 91 just mostly kills all of them, makes them panicked, and if they weren't panicked, if they weren't injured, they would be a pretty nice counter to the BTRTs, the MTLBVs. On this side, I could just bring them up to the edge of the woods here. We get 10 rounds per minute, shells downfield times 4, and decent accuracy to boot, but as it is, their accuracy is just abysmal. 50% on a base 65% accuracy gun at relatively close range. That should be hitting, you know, 90% chance to hit kind of thing every single volley, and it's just not, and that's because of some really wonderful artillery play from my opponent. So Milan 2 does get a kill on a BTRT, and that's just the side armor doing that for you, and this Milan 2, I mean, did very, very well. I think we also killed a super heavy with it, or something approaching a super heavy. That wasn't unfortunately caught on this replay, but I mean, you can't catch everything going through the replays like this, so sometimes I see particular plays and I go, okay, well, let's talk about that one, let's not talk about this one, and it's just a bit of a you get what you get, and I try and do the best that I can. But I'm never averse to posting the replays as well on the Discord if you guys want that sort of thing and want to be able to see the full bit. So 25T coming in, I don't really know what he was after, but I didn't have enough anti-air up here. You can see the Roland 3 from Han to Hun is the farthest forward anti-plane that we have, and I'm calling in a KWS just because I've gotten kind of tired of the Red 4 Air Force, and if I can kill something, that might be worth it. Plus there's an SU-24, which is meaning that the Roland 3 shouldn't be engaging here, and we go in, I think we do get the MiG, and we might be able to get out, because the 25T is going to have to just gun run me, which... I mean, that's pretty effective, to be honest. Yeah, I took more damage there than I thought I would, and just barely get out. I think that was... If I had been in for maybe a second or two more, that would have been very, very different. Meanwhile, on this side, we do find the Komandnoe Autolinie, and that is going to be hopefully killed by the Leopard 2A1 and or the Panzergren, but the Leopard 2A1 is going to have to deal with some Ruskis and Kurima and Gatsu's Musties, which I thought he would do better with than he did, but I mean, recoilless rifles are heat damage that you can get it. Oh, we did, yeah, tank shot to kill that. And now we have Echo, we have Golf Neutral, and that's going to be a +2 for the Blue 14, which is pretty nice. Second KWS, by the way, going in after the 25T, but those guys are armored, and I pretty much run out of long-range missiles and don't get the short-range one online in time. So yeah, not an ideal engagement, but again, we do, I think, just barely get out. So at least the KWSs are still alive. Now, the Milan 2, oh, here it is. The Milan 2 resupplied by Mencot 1, and there's a T-72 MM1 mod from Gatsu. 9 strengths, I'm not sure what hit him, but that ATGM, ooh, never mind. Man, I thought that was going to be really good for a second. Well, charioteers, by the way, excellent answer. I mean, I've lost 3 of the 4 1A5s. The last one's too panicked to heal up. And the Panzergren 90 will get 1 shot, 1 kill, but yeah, look at that. Just immediate returning fire. Using those cheap charioteers to screen things out for the heavier punch. Just beautiful, beautiful play there from the Red 4 team. So, okay, here it is. Yeah. Tor spotted, killed by the Milan 2. No. Oh, goodness gracious. This guy, I thought I was going to be so proud of him, and then just vast and never-ending disappointment, it would appear, is the order of the day. So, I don't know. I mean, Panzerkampfwagen Leopard 1, this was called in when we had a much firmer hold here. Now it's a Leclerc that is maybe in a little bit of danger too, right? Because you have the T-72M1 mod, you have the Charioteers, you have the lighter tank. That's going to be a shot onto the Leclerc's side armor as he's trying to get out, and one shot, one kill. So we're just going to have to kind of consolidate. You can see I'm pulling the Leopard 1 back. I'm sort of trying to smoke off line of sight here. Actually, I think, yeah, that was Hun-to-Hun blocking line of sight. And we have a contingency plan, right? We can still put the Leopard 1 in this corner and smoke him off. That would get us back up to a +1, as, you know, despite us having Echo, now we don't have Delta anymore, so that is going to be 0-0 with 14 minutes left. And yeah, I mean, up 300 points is a pretty comfortable place to be, but it is not game, set, and match yet, so that is the sort of confidence that we were hoping for and weren't quite able to get. So, Milan 2, oh, yeah, I think that's going to be after the Skreget, and another miss. Goodness gracious, I have a single Milan 2 up here. That's a result of that push, and I was really just hoping he could do something right. Let's see. Yeah, there's the Tor kill. Okay, 80 points off of Milan 2, 20-point unit, which is very nice. Ooh, side armor? No. Ooh, side armor. There we go. That's a kill. Man. I don't think I made a single decision better this entire game than bringing that Milan 2 up to right where he was. And what I'm kind of amazed by is that he even had the vision for this, right? Like, that was pretty far back. I didn't think the Milan 2 had that much vision. It's just medium optics, but I guess tanks in the open, decently easy to spot. So, Han-to-Hun has secured this side of the town. In Echo, we have a T-72K1 moving out from Johnny Anxiety here, just trying to have some way to counter that, which I definitely approve of too, because you can see they're at +1, having taken Delta, and with this decap, they're going to be at +2. I was recently informed +1 is 15 points a minute, so +2 is 30 points a minute. With 13 minutes left, that does get them a win. It's 390 points right there, more or less, if they can get a +2 ticking basically immediately. And yeah, I don't really want that to happen, but it is countered by the counter cap engulf. So right as he gets that, we get here. We're holding them to a +1, but only if we can keep Infinite and Gatsu out of this section for way longer than I'd really wanted to have to try to do that. So MX-1390 from Han-to-Hun, this is some really wonderful anti-infantry stuff, and we should see some good contact here in a second. One against the Motostrelki, but then two against this VDV-90 that I'm trying to distract here with an MD Jupiter. Just wasn't really sure what else to do with that, so I was sitting there going, you know what, let's make him shoot at it, let's see if he's attacked move, because of course if he is attacked move, they'll stop while they're doing that. We'll just roadblock him just a little bit while he starts to take fire from a couple other units. Of course, if he does get in, then the M13A1s can't do much, but the Deccan's Group should be able to. So, a KT moving forward on this side. I've brought more man-pads forward, but they were just a little bit too late, and they will take some fire here from the KT as I'm trying to unload. Yep, there it is. One of them immediately killed, and the second one does get one shot. Let's see if we can get a second shot. No. So that really fast gun from the KT is pretty brutal for a reason, and Hans Tiger has to sort of bail me out. But the Totu, this mod is detracked, and there's just nothing you can do about that. It doesn't really matter who you are. If you're detracked, it's just not going to move. And this was also in response to getting the command vehicle in Echo. I smoked up this side and then pinged the heck out of Blind Bandit until he moved his SAS forward, trying to kill that, because these guys are pretty far forward. The AT-4 is very nice, only 19 AP power, but 20 rounds per minute, and command tanks don't usually have the heaviest armor unless they're Soviet, which that one was not. So just building a huge smoke wall and saying walk through it, see if you can stay up there, stay not spotted by anything in the towns, or long-range fire support, which I think the Red 4 team had this section of town right here, and what I was afraid of without the smoke was if he starts moving up, he gets caught in the open by autocannons and supporting fire or recoilless rifles on things like Raskas and Kurima that definitely can and will mess up your infantry faster than you can blink. So KWS is now circling as we are just waiting for the next Red 4 just plain launch if they were going to do it. And 1390 backed by 2A5 getting some good work in. So you can see Golf is going to be hard. We're going to not really be able to push out of it necessarily, but we have managed to sort of slow the re-advance in, and that has definitely distracted from other sides of the field. So unfortunately, now we are getting pushed Blind Bandit and South Africa Enjoyer, which I think South Africa Enjoyer had by this point just lost so much stuff that it's really hard to maintain a late game board presence. I mean, it's a 40-minute game. If you lose a ton of stuff in the first 10 minutes, it can be really, really hard to recover. And again, speaking from experience, having just done that in Delta the other day at the time of recording, so not meaning to imply anything, not meaning to say anything bad or anything like that, it just, sometimes it happens, right? It's like, you can take really good, really amazing players, and you put them against each other, one of them has to lose. So it's just, it's how the game is built. Cheetah D2 coming in, and I'm not sure what those bombs are going at. Those are, of course, the fire and forgets. Yeah, it looks like some decent contact, stunning things, panicking others. and that should allow some decent combat here, as the Stormers, of course, are very deadly, but not really ideal to be that close in. Nice support from the Gazelle Sneb, too. I mean, if you're going to take the excellent optics, you may as well take the rocket pods with it, and then it's useful in times like this. I think he did get about 20 points worth of return from those rockets, which of course does justify the price change, in addition to the spotting support of the helicopter itself. So, K-52 back here, Su-25Ts taking some fire, but I've been just repeatedly disappointed by iHawks. I had 2 of them, it wasn't enough. You can see also Cluster coming in on the smoked out positions here, trying to guess which one is our CV, and fortunately for our CV, they guessed the wrong one. Unfortunate for my allies 2A5, which had been just a mainstay of this entire side of the board for so long. Just really unfortunate that that was lost. And then you can see a couple of units here. I think these were Wilks now from Infinite. That looks like maybe, well, Wilk or Twardy. Oh no, T-72BU. Well, shows you what I know about judging the front silhouettes of things. So then my 2A1s moving forward, we cluster, we get that kill. I think that was off of, was that artillery or was that my plane? Yeah, I think that was a plane of mine. So we did get the kill there, and the 2A1s are getting back before they get killed. So the whole reason I pushed them forward was just to keep those things firing long enough for me to be able to get a cluster kill on them. And I don't know, it didn't show up in my kill feed. I think sometimes bombers don't. I'm not entirely sure why. I've heard before that it's if it evacs before the kill is made. But if one of you guys in the comments can confirm that, I'd be a very grateful fellow, because I don't know why that is sometimes. So the KWSs are getting a little bit over-aggressive here. We're diving in against the K-52. We needed to take out their recon if we wanted to keep this guy alive, because you can see he's already drawn fire. I was tired of it. I didn't really want that to keep going on. But I do trade basically for 2 KWSs. So yeah, we took out his recon. Was it worth it? Probably not, and you can see Gatsu now does have 2 PT-91 Twardys, and I remember them from something. Moving up here, they will be able to more than fend off my 1A5s, and all of that's going to be retreated back. I thought we'd basically cleared out their super heavies. I was wrong. And without enough resupply up here quickly, the Leclerc and the 2A1s are just sitting there waiting to get into the action and not able to do so. So we do also have another command tank that was moved up here in response to the SAS. The SAS did get a kill, I think, over here. Yep, there it is. There's the carcass. So nice job from the SAS, but that of course did draw attention, and the Red 4 team was able to respond very quickly. So the combined effort of South African Enjoyer and Blind Bandit have done a pretty nice job here of making sure the side doesn't collapse completely. But it's going to be hard for us to really get any sort of forward motion, fortunately, with 7 minutes left and a nearly 250 point differential. At this point we don't have to. At this point we just have to hold. So that is basically the entire intention. You can see I think the Polish MiG coming in, just going for a scout defender. I mean, why not? It's sort of a free pick. If the missile can hit, which fortunately for me it didn't. But there's also double Twardy, and we're not quite able to get contact on these guys. Now they are, I believe that's the 155 pointer. Kind of embarrassed my knowledge of the Polish tanks in this game. I very rarely play anything with the Twardy, so I don't remember which one is which. Defense marker, just saying, hey, you know, these things are getting shot, reservists are getting shot by those Twardys, but I think he was just trying to screen out in front of my Leopard 1, which was very much an appreciated sort of role, and one that's going to cost you some sorts of units. And, I mean, here, this is a good trade, right? So the Leclerc and the 2A1 getting their guns online against those Renico. If we can stay out of range of the Twardy, that's a good thing. And, I mean, the Leclerc, very nearly able to get a kill, yeah, down to 2. My 2A1s are chasing a bit just because that one is down to 2, and then we have a block 5. So here's another cluster plane coming in, and we get one Twardy with a side shot. I believe that was either the Leclerc or the 2A1s, and the second one hits and not killed, I think. Let's actually take a little bit of a peek there. Yeah, he did survive, which is a tad unfortunate, but it did definitely zone him out, and I think my block 5 did get away. So I was actually pretty impressed with the evac speed of that block 5. It definitely had better survivability than I was afraid I would see. So, man, it's been a little while since I've done one of these longer ones. I know some people really enjoy it, I know some people really enjoy the shorter stuff, but I don't know, this was a really fun game during, and I wanted to make sure that I put it up online. I think I've had a couple losses recently I want to post as well. The recent one playing as Soviets, where, you know, I just said Soviets are hard. Yeah, I mean, Soviets are hard. Maybe not for everybody, but I certainly just struggle to understand force composition for them, what's effective, how to get critical mass with that faction. It's not necessarily the easiest thing for me all the time. Spetsnaz, by the way, in the towns are going to be just monsters. This is something too, like, if you're going to fight over here, I thought a simple mechanized deck would do it. I fought over there with a land jet mech the other day, and you really need dedicated town fighting infantry And Red 4 does that really, really well with the Spetsnaz. So Heimatschützen moving up, just screening as well, trying to draw fire when my 1A5s get back. I do this time have enough Mountcat 1s, I called in maybe a couple too many, and the Spesdern. So one thing, I am a sneaky, sneaky fellow in this game, and I know it's a little bit dishonorable, but I did manage to get Spesdern all the way up here. We didn't kill the Red 4 command vehicle, but we did, I think, spook him just enough to have him reposition. Unfortunately, we are going to lose the infantry there, but we also have a couple of boxes going forward, and yeah, they get caught too, but like that sort of near penetration through your lines is always scary. It's always something that's just unpleasant to deal with. Even if it does, I mean, I lose the 2-2A1s there for basically minimal return. So we are going to be wrapping up this game in just a minute. I do want to show you guys some of the standout units because they are very fun this game. But that's going to be a surrender from Johnny Anxiety, and then very shortly, I mean, it's just with 4 minutes left and a +1 for the Blue 4 team, this was unfortunately over, but definitely a well-fought, contentious match, and there I do finally lose the block 5. So let's take a look here. I think what's particularly of note is there were a lot of really inexpensive units this game that got way, way, way more return than their original value, and that, I mean, so 12,305 to 13,025, we still did go negative by about 700 points. I went positive by about 825, and then South Africa Enjoyer, I think he got doubled there for a little bit, just got hammered in that game. Okay, so MVPs are going to have to be the Totu, killed a T-72 M1 mod, which is very nice. LLRKT M93 killed an Alouette, which, I mean, yeah, that's kind of what you expect. A SU-27M 200-point plane, and a Finnish MiG. So I was sitting there going, probably one of the best purchases I made this entire game, and then you scroll down and you see the siege gun with the Ito 90, the Command Noah Autolinea, Sepri, the other one got a Tor. Just really, really, really nice long-range support for us this game out of those units. And then finally, I think we did have, yeah, here it is. M41A1, Neva SC, Neva SC, T-72B, OBR 1989, and the other one that was in that pair was the one that shot the Ito 90 and finished off a group of CC. So that's what we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.